All right, so yeah, we're going to talk here about these useful idiots. This is why, and again, this will kind of go back to what I'm talking about, what I'm ranting about, and why I think Trump will win this election. Because the useful idiots are better when they aren't in power. They're more useful when they aren't in power. And I talked about this. I think it's Livestream 26, if you want to go back. It's called Revolutionaries. I think it's Livestream 24, 25, or 26 on my feed. It's called Revolutionaries. I go in depth about this. Revolutionaries are better when they're not actually in power. And when they actually get into power, which we're going to get into right now, they're just killed. They're imprisoned. They're pushed to the side. Every revolution, every communist revolution pretty much has the same playbook. The radicals, they scream, they shout, they call for uprisings and revolution and change. They're all about change, 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 change. The system's not good. We need to change it. And by the way, we have the solutions. Our theories, our political system, our economic system is the solution to the problems. We must change the way things are. And they're constantly pushing for change. The problem is when they finally get power. They topple a government, they kill government, whatever. Now those radical revolutionaries are in power. They're now the king. They're now sitting in the throne. They're sitting with the crown. But they want to keep changing. Now they have a problem because now they have to maintain the status quo. Now they have to have the solutions that work. They can't have problems happen, or else the next round of revolutionaries will take over. And the people who actually do take over, like this happened when Lenin took over power, all of his little useful idiot Bolsheviks were the first ones lined up and shot, all the Trotskyites. And then especially when Stalin took power after that, after the death of Lenin, Stalin eventually rose to power, and the first thing he did was kill Trotsky and all of his followers because they were radicals, they were revolutionaries, they call for change, and they always point out the problems, and they say, we need to change, we need to change, we need to change. But when Stalin is the king, he needs there not to be people radically trying to change things. He needs to have status quo. He needs to have stability. He's in charge now, so he needs to make sure he's in charge, that things are like stable, that he has control over things. He can't have these constant calls for revolution and constant calls for change and constant pointing out of the problems. So at some point, these revolutionaries are useful to people to destroy the old order and bring about the new order. But when that new order is finally established, when the old order is toppled and the new order does finally get established, the people who caused that change are the first ones lined up and shot, as you'll see here in a second. They're the first people purged. They're the first people put into prison. Hitler did the same thing with his brown shirts. He had this crew of thugs, street thugs, that would go out and intimidate, called brown shirts. And it was the same thing. As soon as he took power, when he was finally in power, he was finally the Chancellor of Germany, makes himself Führer. You know, he's trying to consolidate his power. He's trying to become the establishment and in the status quo of Germany. The first thing he did was purge the brown shirts. He had them rounded up and killed or imprisoned, silenced, shut up, off the streets, because Hitler needed to have the status quo. He didn't need to have these radical revolutionaries always calling and causing change and revolution to take place. Hitler needed stability. He needed control over the population. And that's what we're going to see now. We're at that point in America. The radicals and the revolutionaries are calling for change and revolution, progress, progress, progress. The problem they're going to have is when they finally do reach that point, when they probably finally do reach that point where they're in charge and they are pushing all this progress, they're going to see purges of these useful idiots, of those radical revolutionaries. You're going to see them purged. You're going to see them imprisoned. You're going to see them killed. And I don't think we're at that point quite yet. I don't think they have enough power yet to solidify that place. So I do think these useful idiots are going to be used for 4 more years, maybe 8 more years. And that's why you need a guy like Trump in charge. So these useful idiots, these radical leftists, these Antifa people, these Black Lives Matter people, they're all going to keep being used to call for change, keep tearing down the systems in place, and keep radically revolutionizing the way our society is and is running. And I don't think they can take power just yet. I don't think that they are at the point just yet where they have enough power and control where they can purge their revolutionaries and maintain their status quo. I think they need about 4 or 8 more years to keep these useful idiots angry and violent and protesting and marching and demonstrating. But we'll get into this right now. I'll just get into it. Stop rambling. Because we are going to talk about useful idiots here. Useful idiots. That's not my term. That's Yuri Bezmenov's term. And we'll get into this in a second. But these Antifa thugs, these Black Lives Matter people, these leftists, these radical revolutionary leftists, they go around instigating destructive and violent acts. And the media either protects them or excuses their behavior for now. These useful idiots are used by the ruling class to tear down those who support or fight for maintaining the status quo or holding on to traditional conservative values. They now even dress these Antifa thugs up in flags and MAGA hats to blame their destruction on Trump supporters. False flag attacks by these radicals. They got caught in the act in this insurrection. You won't hear it on your screens, you won't see it on the news, but they got caught in the act. The screens, the people on the screens will never show you it or admit to it, but yes, you'll see here, they got caught in the act. This first clip is from the Black Lives Matter protest last summer. You can see a prominent New York City Antifa member directly handing cash to black people to cause destruction and chaos during a peaceful protest. So that's what you're going to see here in this clip.
We're building the barricades. Go get everything you can find. Go get everything you can find. These are the boys right here. This is the team. There's more stuff that we can put out here. Hey, there's 3 picnic tables up here. There's a couple picnic tables up here. Let's go on. Come on, y'all.
Yeah. So as you can see, instigators infiltrating peaceful protests and turning them radical and revolutionary and violent and destructive. I don't know the guy's name. I've seen it on the online floating around, but he's a well-known New York City Antifa organizer and protester, the long-haired bearded guy. And he's on that clip paying people in cash to cause destruction and chaos during peaceful protests, during peaceful, nonviolent demonstrations. He pays a number of people to cause destruction and turn the whole thing chaotic and revolutionary, and destructive and violent. So now here's this same guy. Here, I'll play it again just to put it in order. Here he is, paying off some people.
Go get everything you can find. These are the boys right here. This is the team. There's more stuff that we can put out here. Hey, there's 3 picnic tables up here. There's a couple picnic tables up here. Let's go on. Come on, y'all.
So there's some Antifa thug, instigator. Here he is again. Same useful idiot, Antifa organizer, thug guy. This time dressed up as a MAGA supporter inside the Capitol building on the 6th with all of the other useful idiots dressed up in MAGA gear and plotting destructive acts inside of the Capitol building. Useful idiots used to instigate violence, to be blamed on other people in order to push the agendas of the ruling class. So if you want to keep pretending that Antifa wasn't a part of the Capitol protests, here's your proof that they were.
What's the floor plan? That door, there's a door to the right. That's a cop. Going down the stairs, back looping around, door beneath us. That's you. We're going to get over.
Antifa with American flags and MAGA hats, dressed up, plotting how to destroy things inside the Capitol.
We need enough people. We need to push forward. Okay. Door right here. Not going that door. Downstairs, loop around.
Okay. Hey guys, I've been in the other room. Listen to me. In the other room on the other side of this door, right here where these feet are standing, there is a glass that if it's broken, you can drop down into a room underneath it. There's also 2 doors in the other room. One in the rear and one to the right when you go in. So people should probably coordinate together if you're going to take this building. Right, we got another window to break to make it in and out easy. And this window here in the lower room needs to be broken. Yeah, right here. And then you also have a window here. Line the fuck out. I'm going back over there.
Where's my press? Story extension. Remember I told you.
What you saying? Tell me what you're doing. Just give me some narrative.
Look for yourself.
People.
God damn it!
All right, they're.
Yep. You like some kind of fucking bomb or some shit? No, I mean like tear gas. Don't fuck with that shit. Don't touch that. That's not what it is. That could be like that.
All right.
Use it as a battery. Yeah.
Yeah. Trump supporters. MAGA. Yeah. Spare me. These useful idiots are used and excused by the people on your screens, who are themselves paid by the ruling class to convince you to agree with their power and their control over you. Do not fall victim to their deceptions. Do not fall victim to their deceptions. Do not give in to their attempts to demoralize you. Do not despair. Do not hold anger or fear in your heart. And be still and know that God is working. Let those useful idiots play their stupid roles in all their silly little games. Do not join them or let them bring you down. And Son of Acantus in the chat says, if they had the power, they would have come for us already. The fact that they need media and censorship as force multipliers means they are weak. Yes, that is true. They do not yet have enough power and control, and therefore they need more of their useful idiots not in power yet, not purged yet. They still need to use these idiots, these instigators, to cause more chaos, death, destruction, so that they can further roll out their solutions. They need to keep causing their problems. They need to keep manufacturing their problems so that the true rulers, the true people in charge who want to solidify their power at the top of the beast system, they need more of that chaos, destruction, death, violence, etc. More of those problems being caused so that those rulers can implement their solutions, their desired solutions on the rest of us. And we'll play another clip here because to explain this whole idea concisely, I'm not the best at it. But to explain this whole idea of useful idiots further, we're going to talk about Yuri Bezmenov, the legendary Yuri Bezmenov, for a little bit. If you don't know, he was a former KGB agent and Soviet Union citizen who was privy to Soviet ruling class tactics and plans before defecting to Canada and the United States back in the 1980s. And I'm going to play a clip here of him explaining how leftists and radical revolutionaries are used like pawns in a chess game by the elites and the ruling classes.
The other 85% is a slow process which we call either ideological subversion or active measures, активные мероприятия in the language of the KGB, or psychological warfare. What it basically means is to change the perception of reality of every American to such an extent that despite of the abundance of information, no one is able to come to sensible conclusions in the interests of defending themselves, their families, their community, and their country. It's a great brainwashing process which goes very slow, and it's divided in 4 basic stages. The first one being demoralization. It takes from 15 to 20 years to demoralize a nation. Why that many years? Because this is the minimum number of years which requires to educate one generation of students in the country of your enemy, exposed to the ideology of the enemy. In other words, Marxism-Leninism ideology is being pumped into the soft heads of at least 3 generations of American students without being challenged or counterbalanced by the basic values of Americanism. You cannot get rid of them. They are contaminated. They are programmed to think and react to certain stimuli in a certain pattern. You cannot change their mind, even if you expose them to authentic information, even if you prove that white is white and black is black, you still cannot change the basic perception and the logic of behavior. The psychological shock when they will see in future what the beautiful society of equality and social justice means in practice, obviously they will revolt. They will be very unhappy, frustrated people. And the Marxist-Leninist regime does not tolerate these people. they obviously they will join the links of dissenters, dissidents. Unlike in present United States, there will be no place for dissent in future Marxist-Leninist America. Here you can get popular like Daniel Ellsberg and filthy rich like Jane Fonda for being dissident, for criticizing your Pentagon. In future, these people will be simply squashed like cockroaches. Nobody is going to pay them nothing for their beautiful, noble ideas of equality.
Squashed like cockroaches, pay nothing for their beautiful ideas of a noble society. Yeah. The useful idiots used to bring about, instigate, and carry out the revolution, the destruction of the social norms and the status quo, the destroyers of the family units and community bonds, the inverters and subverters of civilization. Once these useful idiots have completed their roles of destruction and, quote, liberation, they are lined up and shot. They are purged and imprisoned. The radicals are no longer useful when the nation has been taken over. The radicals are no longer useful when the nation has been successfully taken over, when the new order assumes power. Their radical revolutionary mindsets are too dangerous to let hang around when the new war pigs come into power. We are witnessing this now. We are witnessing the start of this now, as the corporate oligarchs and their bought and paid for governments are pumping money to social movements and convincing the useful idiots that they deserve what they have not earned, what they have not created or built for themselves. Those high-ranking in the beast system want to reset our society right now, and consolidate their control. And they are using the reactionaries and the emotionally unstable people to make it happen. They are using the breakers to destroy what the builders have made. They are using the intellectuals to shame what the faithful do. Those who stand up and speak out for what is right, just, and moral are direct threats to those who seek domination. The men of God stand in the way of the schemes of Satan. And those who have become spiritually distant from God through their love of money, pleasure, stuff, and safety are being led to destroy and even kill. Being led towards evil. Satan, the great deceiver, the inverter, has successfully taken over control of the hedonists, the pleasure seekers, the emotionally unstable, the intellectuals, and all those who live for their mental and physical rewards, their material rewards, their earthly treasures, all of the stuff they have on earth here and now. He's using their spiritual brokenness against them to attack those who are still committed to loving and trusting in God first and only. Satan's brainwashed masses are coming to tear down, destroy, overthrow, topple, violate, and even kill all those who refuse to buy into an inverted reality, a subverted culture, falsified truth, misguided love, and phony faith. These children of the lie will be used to destroy what is good so that what is bad can overwhelm and conquer in this place, here and now. Then they themselves will be lined up and shot, purged and eliminated. The useful idiots serve a temporary purpose. The useful idiots serve a temporary purpose: to destroy God's children and lead them astray from his green pastures. Then they themselves will be removed and enter into an eternity of misery, pain, emptiness, and damnation as a result. Do not allow it to overcome you. The takeaway: do not allow it to overcome you. Do not give in. Do not give up. Do not become demoralized or full of despair. Trust your Creator. Know that He is Lord and that salvation is afforded to you by His Son's sacrifice. You can do what is righteous, and if it costs you your material stuff or your physical life, know that your reward is eternal and that treasures await you in heaven. Treasures do await you in heaven for your sacrifice here and now.
You see, the useful idiots, the leftists who are idealistically believing in the beauty of Soviet socialist or communist or whatever system, when they get disillusioned, they become the worst enemies. That's why my KGB instructors specifically made a point: never bother with leftists. Forget about these political prostitutes. Aim higher. This was my instruction. Try to get into large circulation, established conservative media. Rich, filthy rich movie makers, intellectuals, so-called academic circles. Cynical, egocentric people who can look into your eyes with angelic expression and tell you a lie. These are the most recruitable people, people who lack moral principles, who are either too greedy or too suffer from self-importance. They feel that they matter a lot. These are the people who KGB wanted very much to recruit.
But to eliminate the others, to execute the others, don't they serve some purpose? Wouldn't they be the ones they rely on?
They serve purpose only at the stage of destabilization of a nation. For example, your leftists in United States, all these professors and all these beautiful civil rights defenders, they are instrumental in the process of the subversion only to destabilize the nation. When their job is completed, they are not needed anymore. They know too much. Some of them, when they get disillusioned, when they see that Marxist-Leninists come to power, obviously they get offended. They think that they will come to power. That will never happen, of course. They will be lined up against the wall and shot. But they may turn into the most bitter enemies of Marxist-Leninists when they come to power. And that's what happened in Nicaragua. You remember most of these former Marxist-Leninists were either put to prison or one of them split, and now he's working against Sandinistas. It happened in Grenada when Maurice Bishop was already a Marxist. He was executed by a new Marxist who was more Marxist than this Marxist. Same happened in Afghanistan when first there was Taraki, he was killed by Amin, then Amin was killed by Babrak Karmal with the help of KGB. Same happened in Bangladesh when Mujibur Rahman, very pro-Soviet leftist, was assassinated by his own Marxist-Leninist military comrades. It's the same pattern everywhere. The moment they serve their purpose, all the useful idiots are either be executed entirely, all the idealistically minded Marxists, or exiled or put in prisons, like in Cuba. Many former Marxists are in Cuba, in prison. So most of the Indians who were cooperating with the Soviets, especially with our Department of Information of the USSR Embassy, were listed for execution. Actually, there are no grassroots revolutions, period. Any revolution is a byproduct of a highly organized group of conscientious and professional organizers, but has nothing to do with grassroots.